has and does helps determine like what their character traits are.
So understanding, we said understanding the traits. So you're saying identifying what they're saying and doing. Yeah, we need to be able to do that. What else?
We need to make sure that they can like recall character relations
Yeah.
and motivations.
Yeah, recall character reactions and motivations, so the things that how they reacted to certain events in the story. We need to identify characters, problem, and solution. This question specifically says what inference can be made about Paco. So what else do we need to add up here? What inference can be made? What else do they need to do?
They need to know like what an inference is.
What an inference is.
Not like right there in the text, but how they use information in the text to come up with it.
Inferences uses info in text carried out through the story. So when they make inferences, they use the information from the text and what else?
With their own thoughts and ideas.
And their own schema, their own thoughts and ideas. Nice. So they need to understand the schema and then what we see in the text to make an inference. And to understand to do that, and they also need to be able to do that. So we'll just like say that they'll be able to do that also. Great. All right. So now that we understand our standard, how does this question connect to the standard? How does this question show evidence of the standard?
This question specifically asks them to make an inference. That's the bulk of the question. And then provide supporting evidence for that hypothesis.
Yeah, and so the standard specifically is about
describing characters.
Yeah, so we definitely have to make an inference about the character. We have to be able to describe this character, right? Nice. And so let's go ahead and look at the exemplar. What makes this exemplar? What are the components that make this an exemplar response?
You flip the question, which is an expectation.
Yep.
So like they made the inference, like they actually gave a character trait, like saying that he's determined.
Yeah.
And then proceeded to back it up with
evidence. So right at the bottom, let's go ahead and write CFS, and let's make that. So we said in the claim they need to have a description of the character, and we're looking for words like determined, serious, driven, something of that nature, persistent. And then what else do we need to see?
You've got 3 pieces of evidence to back up that claim about the character.
Yeah, this exemplar does have 3 pieces of evidence. We'll just go with 2 to make it exemplar, 2 pieces of evidence. So nice job identifying that there and noticing that there. So 2 pieces of evidence, and we'll say that the evidence, what specifically does the evidence look for? What types of evidence should we see?
It's so like they're giving examples for why they chose that like character trait to describe him. So
So let's get even more specific. We would say like, yep, tired. We want to see an example of him being tired. We want to see that he traveled to the wise man. So tired, traveled, the fact that it was scary, the fact that he kept a secret, and the fact that he surprised his family. We could see any pieces of those evidence to prove that prove their claim. And then we need to see the explanation of the evidence, right? That's another piece of the exemplar, the explanation, that despite challenges and that he was able to, right? So our CFS has a claim. It has 2 pieces of evidence, and it has an explanation of evidence. And we got really specific on what we're trying to see. So now we're going to look at our student exemplar. You can go ahead and flip the page. Jada's work is our student exemplar. So look at your teacher exemplar and the student exemplar. What is the gap between the teacher exemplar and our student exemplar? Does she have the claim?
A version of the claim, yeah.
She has a version of the claim. Determining, yep. So yes, we'll say that she has the claim here. What else does she have?
she has one example talking about when he was tired.
One example that talks about when he's tired, but she's missing
second piece of evidence to back up her claim.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that her explanation is not full, right? She's saying it's just an example of why.
Yeah. Yeah, she's just elaborating on that one piece of him being tired. Great. So we would want to see more evidence from the student. What? Let's go ahead and just name what is her gap.
So she is like unable to provide multiple pieces of evidence that support her claim.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So she needs to provide multiple pieces of evidence to support her claim, and so that would be our like quick hit for our highest students. Like right now, they're pulling out the claim. They have that piece of evidence. We need to push them to include more pieces of evidence, and they can do this by finding the best pieces of evidence to support their claim. Great. So now that we know what our higher students are doing, let's actually look at the trend. And so flip to the next page. This is the trend in student work. If you look at Paige's work, so go ahead and read through and see what is the gap between the exemplar and Paige's work. All right, so go ahead and share out what is the gap.
It's not accurate, like not making an accurate inference. It's actually like factual, saying like he was poor and then he found treasure, so they don't actually really make an inference about a character trait.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, build on / cosign. I think that like this example is how a character has changed and maybe what they've been through. It's not digging into a character trait or description of a character.
Great. So what do they understand? Do they have some components of who the character is?
Yes.
Yes. So how does this then connect? So like you guys said, we said that they're not making an accurate inference, so they do not have a strong claim. Yes, we're correct. So now, why? What do they need to be able to do? Right? Like what do they have and what are they missing when we connect back to our standard?
so like they were able to think about evidence, like they pulled evidence from the story, but they didn't think about like how those things that happen in the story, like what they tell us about the character, and like as a person, they like were going at it sort of from a feeling aspect and like low level, trying to hit like he was happy.
Yeah, I agree. The scholar was able to read what he was poor, he was happy, but wasn't able to use their schema to pull out who he was. He was determined, he kept going.
Nice. Okay. So let's go ahead and jot down what the action step is. So what the gap in student work is, and what we would want to see from work. So we'll write students did not make an accurate inference in their claim. Students did not make an accurate inference in their claim because they did not use their schema and their knowledge of the character's traits did not use their schema and their knowledge of what the character is saying and doing, of what the character is saying and doing to make an inference on the character's trait. And then Jen, go ahead and read that back to us.
Scholars did not make accurate inferences in their claim because they did not use their schema and knowledge of what the character is saying and doing to make an inference on the character's trait.
Nice. And so, how would we reteach this to scholars? would we want to use a model or would we want to use guided discourse?
Model, non-model?
Model, non-model. So is that like more of like a guided discourse and then hit them with the model? Yeah, tell us why. Why would you do that?
I think that Paige maybe wasn't, she thought she was answering the question. And again, followed the protocol of having examples and all of those pieces.
Nice. Great. So yes, I would show call student work, right? So we can show call Paige's work. We can show them that Paige actually went through the steps of having a claim, having 2 pieces of evidence, and her explanation, but she actually did not make the correct inference. And the way that we want her to be able to make an inference is by using what the character says and does and what we just know about when people say and do those things, and how we can make an inference on their trait. So we would then have them go back to certain parts in the text of where the character says and where the character does certain things, and ask them, what does that then tell us about this character, and have them make that inference. Then we would go back and fix our work. All right, so what's the plan?
So doing like a quick model, showing them the example and the non-example, and then having them go back and actually find what the character is saying and doing in the text, and making sure we're really asking them, like, what does that tell us about the character, pushing them to think beyond
Yes.
the text.
Yes. So we're actually going to practice this in just a second. So take some time to plan out where are those sections in the text that you would want to show students for them to make an inference. Where's the section where he said something? Where's the section where he did something? That's helping them make an inference of his character trait. Okay? Take a minute to do that, and then we're actually going to pop up and we're going to practice what this looks like in front of kids.
Just so I'm clear, you want them to model and then show Paige's work?
No, I want them to show Paige's work, and then I want them to show kids where in the text. I want them to show Paige's work, tell them, right, discuss the fact that she did not have the correct inference, and then why she did not have the correct inference. So really, it's like a teach for the future statement. It's
She
not a
didn't
model.
make an inference, right? She gave a direct.
Okay.
So it's more so like a.
Woohoo!